ICT is a key enabler for government transformation. We will be covering such points as transformation enablers, process master plan, infrastructure, and stakeholders. Infrastructure for the country and city transformation, role of key stakeholders, and process master planning transformation. And I'd like to introduce you to our esteemed panelists. His Excellency, Mr. Yasser El Kady, Minister of Telecom of Arab Republic of Egypt, Dr. Chaesub Lee, Director of TSB ITU, His Excellency, Dr. Aisha Bin Bishr, Doctor General of Smart Dubai, Mr. Osman Sultan, CEO of DO, Mr. Brian Roberts, VP Global Services of Wavefront, and Dr. Mohammed Al Zarooni, Deputy Director General of Smart Government. And the moderator will be Mr. Ghazu Atallan, CEO of neXgen. Please welcome them to the stage.
Well, thank you again. Thank you for joining us back from the break. I have the pleasure of hosting a very distinguished panel and looking at a very important topic, which is transformation within government. And we are talking about ICT-enabled transformation, of course, which is the main topic of this seminar and this conference today. What I'd like to do is just give the panelists an opportunity to introduce the topic, to talk about their own plans in terms of transformation, take a couple of minutes for each one of the panelists, and then ask some questions. But I'd like to also have the opportunity to bring in questions from the audience as much as possible, please. We have 45 minutes. We have 5 distinguished panelists. Dr. Aisha, unfortunately, will have to leave us at 20 to 1, but we have the opportunity to ask her some questions before she leaves. And start straight away. So if I can say, the topic of this panel is ICT-enabled transformation. We're talking about the planning, the process of transformation. We're talking about some of the fundamental enablers of transformation being process, infrastructure, as well as the stakeholders. Who are the players and who are the key players? As a start, would you mind sharing with us the transformation journey and what are the key milestones in this transformation journey and the players?
Sure. Thank you, Ghazi. Thank you, distinguished panelists. I'm so honored and happy to be part of this platform. This is the 3rd year for me to be part of this Congress for all telcos and ICT major players in our region. When we talk about transformation or smart city transformation, this is not something new in Dubai. Alhamdulillah, Dubai for the last 2 decades been into transformation process. It took us from re-engineering some processes in our municipality. This was during the 80s until the 90s when we adopted the internet, and then early 2000 when we adopted also the new trend during those days, the e-government, making sure everyone in the city are aligned. Not in the city by itself, but at least the government sector. For us, it is essential to make sure that the government body is aligned and seeing the same vision that our leader put it for us. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult task for whoever managing this project to make sure that all these big entities who have their own vision when it comes to sectorial component of the city, why do they need to listen to you? But alhamdulillah, having a proper vision, a leadership, and a proper plan allowed us during the last 20 years to reach this level. And also having private sector, telecom sector, understanding the unique position of Dubai and supporting our leadership in fulfilling their vision. This is the story of Dubai. The story of Dubai is to make everyone living in Dubai happier by making sure that all the technologies are embedded properly and utilized properly, efficiently, seamlessly in Dubai.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Aisha. We will come back to you in a few minutes. I'd just like to continue down the panel, if you don't mind. Your Excellency, please bear with me for a minute. Dr. Chaesub, how do you see someone like the ITU, obviously, which you represent, how do you see the role, when we talk about stakeholders and roles and responsibilities, what would be the role of someone like the ITU in terms of supporting the transformation or enabling this transformation using ICT?
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure being here with you. This is a very interesting subject because we are talking about transformation with the smart. ITO is a UN specialized agency as a responsible for the ICT. So my bureau has a special responsibility for developing ICT technical standard. When you look at this, listening from this morning's session as well, look at this practical world is mostly verticalized. As Osman already indicated, even when you look at these UN agencies, all UN agencies also vertical oriented, health oriented organizations, the weather oriented organizations, trade oriented organizations, industry oriented organizations, even ITO is we called ICT based on our organizations. It's the same thing is happening in the old government. ICT generally raise up these concerns about the convergence, called convergence. But convergence is not only a simple business issue. Convergence is also addressed to the governance issue. Many governance issues is a very important subject for this convergence. So ITO as ICT responsible of this ICT development in UN systems, you are trying to work hard to collaborate with other vertical-oriented UN systems. This is one of the examples. I want to touch a little bit more details later on, but it's one of way to think about how we can facilitate this convergence with some asking the transformation of government or governance issue.
Thank you. And again, we'll come back to
Sure.
discussing. Your Excellency, you spoke briefly this morning about Egypt and the transformation. What are some of those key milestones in the transformation journey and the role of the leadership?
So let me, I don't know if, can you hear me? So let me first start by, I don't think that it's working.
Is it
Push
on?
the.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, okay, it's on.
Yeah, okay.
It's supposed to be working, okay? So let me start first.
It was
Can you
on.
hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so, well, you can. I'm joking. So let me start first by country transformation. Country transformation is in the top of the agenda of the government and of the leadership of Egypt. So, and they're looking to the ICT as the real platform and the main pillar when it comes to country transformation. A lot of milestones that we are working on. One of the most important initiatives that we are working on right now when it comes to country transformation is building the national database. The national database is very important while we are getting through some sort of an economical change. You know that everybody knows that Egypt have made a very tough decisions over the last 3 to 4 weeks of devaluation of the currency. Well, a lot of things that it is affecting some of the people in the country. So how we can build the proper and the right database so we can tackle the right people when it comes to subsidy, when it comes to building a social safety net, and a lot of other things that we are doing. When we're talking about country transformation, so it's across all of the sectors as well. So we have to talk about the health sector, how we can transform the health sector and building the proper and right health systems to provide health care to all of the citizens. When it comes to education, and this is something that I did mention in the morning about the smart learning programs and how we can transform the education. Well, I can tell you that within the education system in Egypt, we do have more than 60,000 schools. And we do have just for the education from K1 to 12, we do have 23 million students. We are enrolling every year 2.5 million students in the schools. So are we going to continue the same way and the old way and the traditional way of providing the same education services? No. So how can we transform even the way that we are providing the education and the healthcare to all of the citizens? Well, part of it is definitely the smart cities and how we are going to build the smart cities. All of the new cities are built right now in Egypt, so they are built on the strategy of being a smart cities. So the new capital of Egypt, and there is another 4 main cities that it is within Egypt that it will start to be as a smart cities. So we are going into a system and strategy that this strategy is executed in the milestones that it is with time schedule as well. So last year or this year, we have committed that we are going to avail spectrum for the mobile operators or for the operators. We have committed that we are going to have the 4G before the end of the year. So the 4G licenses has been already signed and agreed among the 4 operators. Why we are doing this? Because we are trying to build the proper and right infrastructure when it comes to real country transformation and enablement.
Sure. I think you mentioned it right in terms of infrastructure, because you have a different challenge in Egypt with the people, amount of people, obviously, and then the current infrastructure state. So now improving infrastructure, as well as very interesting initiative of building a database, a national database, so that we can, on one hand, we have the infrastructure, on the other hand, we have the data, so we can then start building on top of that in terms of transformation.
Yes.
Very interesting, and I'm sure we're going to have questions on that. Mohammed, if you don't mind, can you give us the current state of ICT infrastructure in the UAE, and also some of the plans that you have at the TRA?
Sure. Thank you, Ghazi. First of all, it's been a pleasure being here with you guys and share with you some of the insight when it comes to the telecommunication or ICT stance when it comes to the UAE. So if you allow me, let me just share with you a couple of the indices that the UAE is actually ranked good in it. One of them is that the UAE globally is the first in ICT use of government efficiency. And we are first in mobile network coverage. We are first globally on the importance of ICT to the government vision. And we are first globally on government success in ICT promotion. We are also second globally in the government procurement of advanced technologies. And we are 8th in terms of government online index. So in general, all of these indices are actually very important, that actually shows the UAE vision and the commitment towards the adoption of the ICT in general. And I'm sure that all the stakeholders, whether it's the regulators, the smart cities, the telecom providers, they are actually sensing the importance of being the first and being very competitive globally. When it comes to the TRA, we play an important role into making sure that these journeys, or this journey is continuous and sustainable as we go. If we talk about the major initiatives that we're working on, especially when it comes to the smart city aspect, such as Internet of Things, 5G, and others. When it comes to 5G, for example, the TRA is going to announce soon a roadmap for 5G implementation within the UAE. Although the telecom providers, they already implemented the trials, both telecom operators, they have trials on 5G. However, what we see is that it's very important to bring all the stakeholders, including telecom provider, chip manufacturers, vendors, handset providers, on the table to discuss on how we go and move forward. Even though we are actually allocating a temporary spectrum allocation for a trial till the WRC in 2019, I think they are going to standardize which spectrum is going to do it. But for the industries and the ecosystem to start playing with such thing, this is our commitment from the TRA to allocate such spectrums for that purpose.
That's interesting. Again, I'm sure we're going to have lots of discussion about this.
Yeah.
Brian, you represent government, semi-government, semi-private sector. Can you just tell us a little bit about Wavefront and then your role in the transformation process?
Sure, great. So it's, first of all, a pleasure to be back in Dubai. I think this is my 5th trip of bringing Canadian companies into the market. We've always had fantastic partnerships here. So Wavefront is a center of excellence for wireless commercialization, a public-private partnership that really accelerates all stages of Canadian technology companies from a business point of view, a technical point of view, and an access to customers point of view. And maybe to sort of give some perspectives on the Canadian smart cities market, I think digital transformation in government, it's still early days. It's a long journey. Many aspects, private sector is doing more in digital transformation if you look at online banking, online retail. Now, having said that, the Intelligent Communities Forum is an organization that takes a look at 400 cities around the world. They've just come out with their list of top 21 smartest communities, and a full third of those 21 were Canadian cities. So still a lot of sort of focus and success in that space. And I think it's predominantly being led by the city as far as the level of government. So many of the cities going with chief digital officers and master plans, opening up their assets to the private sector. If we look at City of Montreal, for example, yes, they've got 70 smart city initiatives, but what they've done is open it up for a smart city incubator. So smart startups can come in, focus on smart city initiatives, and they're backing it with a $100 million VC fund in order to scale up the ones that have been successful. From a provincial level, Ontario, the biggest province, has a minister just dedicated to digital government, which is always a good sign. And I guess at the federal level, a lot of initiatives going on. The one I met with last week was interesting because it was run by the Treasury Board. So Treasury Board in Canada is the part of the government that gives money to all the other parts of government. So hopefully it will follow the golden rule, which of course is whoever has the gold makes the rules. And we'll see them really drive the change management in the organization.
Thank you. Very interesting in the fact that you know, in Canada it seems not, it has nothing to do with the fact that I grew up in Montreal or anything like that. You mentioned Montreal. But it's very interesting that there's the governance aspect of it is well defined. So the chief digital officer, the city leader, the federal government leader that's driving the transformation process. It seems to be a fundamental aspect of transformation, as well as, of course, the public-private partnerships and so on. I'd like to come back to you, Dr. Aisha, before you leave us and say, I know that when we talk about transformation, there's an external element and there's an internal element. You know, when you transform as a city or as government, you have all of the external aspects of transformation and serving customers and so on. But there's also an internal element transformation I know is very close to your heart, in the sense of how do we improve internally our capabilities so that we can meet the external pressure. So can you tell us a little bit about this?
Absolutely. First of all, Ghazi, before starting any transformation plans, we need to know exactly our current status. What do we have? What are our challenges? And what are the challenges, if we overcome, will make our life much easier? And that was the decision taken here in Dubai. Alhamdulillah, yani Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, he gave us 1 month to develop a very high-level strategy. And he was convinced that all these challenges will be solved if we have a proper governing tool around it. That's why we had a proper structure for our transformation agenda, having a higher committee wherein all the decision makers of the city are involved in, an executive committee wherein all the executive CIOs or CEOs in the government are part of it. All of them should be around the same table. Collaboration is the magical word that we use it always in our journey. Without having a proper collaboration and a proper dialogue between all the main players in our city, we'd never reach this level where we are today in Dubai. Knowing that one of our challenges was not only the infrastructure. Yes, infrastructure is a challenge. Make sure that all of them are talking to each other, integrated with each other, but also data. Today we have a knowledge economy. This started in 2000. Today we have a data economy. If we don't have a proper governing framework for our data, we cannot call ourselves smart cities or digital cities or even having an e-government. If we cannot properly manage the data, which is scattered all over the city and affecting a lot our citizens, our businessmen, even our competitive edge globally. That was the main challenge that we solved in Dubai by having a proper data law, proper data policies, and a body that can continue to govern the implementation of that law and make sure that there is a compliance when it comes to government or a private sector. And then a platform that really will link everything happening in our city, whether it be Internet of Things, whether it be enablement layers, you name it, all the components of smart cities, Wi-Fi, 5G. If you don't have a proper governing framework also for all these setups, you will spend a lot, fortune in such infrastructure. That's why we have our second establishment, Smart Dubai Government, our technological arm that operate such a component, but also develop a lot of, with the help of the office, develop a lot of policies to govern the infrastructure. Who will tell government entities whether to use private or public cloud? Who will tell them what type of standards when implementing IoT? And who can convince them to use a single database or a single disaster recovery? Having such a proper governing tool will help us also to unify ourselves internally in the government. You cannot ask the private sector to come and work with you if you are not unified internally. And that, alhamdulillah, in these last 3 years, we accomplished in Dubai in having everyone in the government in a harmony to work toward transforming the city. And we work in the Smart Dubai office as the orchestrator, who bring everyone around the same table. Even now, we started mid of this year to bring on board also private sector to understand our vision and to understand how they can support this transformation agenda. This is a journey, we cannot play it alone. All of us need to play it together, hand by hand, and with the same vision.
Thank you, Dr. Aisha. I will pick up on this with the other panelists. Your Excellency, you talked about...
I need to leave now?
Please.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Aisha. Your Excellency, you mentioned that you're building now the national database, and you've issued a license, which is actually quite interesting because you talk about enabling all the mobile operators to become virtual fixed line operators. So in fact, actually opening up the market and helping broadband to be much more ubiquitous and much more available. And at the same time, you're building the national database. What do you see in terms of role for those telcos or those mobile operators, as well as the other private sector entities in terms of helping the government with the transformation process?
Well, this is a very important question, Ghazi. So, it's some sort of an integrated solution and integrated strategy. So, everybody's playing its own role. So, the government is playing the role to put the proper process, rules, regulations, and governance, and making sure that the government is building the national database. Just to give you the challenge, or to give you some sort of an opinion about the challenge of building a database in Egypt. So over the past, since 2002, so there were a lot of trials to build a national database. So we do have multiple databases that it is scattered across all of the ministers, the authorities, the departments, and everywhere in the country. So to collect or to integrate these databases, and every database is using different platform. So there is no even service bus to integrate this and to provide some of the services. So this was a great challenge, and without the real support, the real political support that we are getting, so we will never go anywhere. So we have started like 5 months ago with the direction from the president himself that, okay, this is a national project and we should build the national database in Egypt. So we have started talking to each and every governorates, every government entity, the ministers and all of this, the ministries and all of this stuff. And we faced with a lot of resistance that anybody wants to give even the database. So nobody wants to give what he owns from the database. Well, it's a great challenge, to be very frank with you. But because of the support that we are giving, because this is considered to be the make or break for the country. If you want to build a country, if you want to make the proper and the right decision, the timely, proper and right decision, you have to make it based on information and based on a real database. So over the past 5 months, we have managed to get 30 databases. And we are still in the progress of even building more databases. And guess what? Well, when we are starting collecting all of the database, so we had to have the reference for this database. So the reference were the national ID card. So how we can integrate the national ID card with the other database. And we found out a lot of things that it's happening that we didn't imagine that it's happening. Why? There is a program in Egypt which is a subsidy program for some of the people that, they are earning less than a certain amount of money, that we are providing them the food, subsidy for food. And we found out that we do have different numbers of people that in different databases that they are getting the subsidy. So from 88 million to 70 million to 64 million. So multiple, I'm just giving this example because, how what we are doing is having an impact on the economy and of the targeted people that we should target when it comes to building a social safety net.
Interesting.
So it is very interesting.
Yeah.
And what we are doing is a real transformation, Ghazi, and this is very important.
And please.
Yeah, what we are doing is a real transformation. So you have been with us for a very long time. It's a real transformation. Why? Because we are building the right or the main platform for building the proper and right decision-making process. How we can target for the social safety net with all of this tough decision that we have made over the past 4 weeks. So right now we do have a preliminary database that we can rely on, and we are going to issue a card which is going to be like a benefits card for each and every citizen. And this card is going to be providing all of the services and all of some of the services like the healthcare system, the education system, the subsidy for food for people that they need subsidy. There is a lot of things that we are building around this database.
Sure.
But if you look to the infrastructure, if you look to the telcos, we cannot do this without having the proper right telecom infrastructure, because we are going to deliver all of these services versus across the country, utilizing all of the infrastructure from the operators.
Yes.
Building the mobile or the mobile operators, the virtual fixed and all of this other connectivity. This is very important as an enabler.
Yeah.
And the other eco partners, which is the software houses and small and medium enterprises and the big companies as well. So we are right now building the service bus. So how we can use like what Mrs. Aisha rightly said, is how to build the form of, or the governance, who from the government should go to the public cloud and who should go to the private cloud, who can use this private cloud and this
Yes.
public cloud.
Yes.
The other thing or the other dimension is building data centers. So we are building right now the first 2 tier 4 data centers in Egypt. So right now they are in the belt. 2 tier 4 data centers. If you look to the number of standard tier 4 and tier 3 data centers in the whole region, you'll find that it's very limited standard tier 4 and tier 3 data centers. Right now we are in the belt of tier 4, 2 tier 4 data centers to accommodate all of what we are trying to do right now.
Sounds like you've made some critical decisions at the government level in terms of infrastructure capability, as well as building the right, when we talk about internal and external, the right internal transformation mechanisms, including this national database, so that allows you to actually unlock the transformation, because the transformation can scale very quickly once you have the right foundation. So it sounds like the foundation is being built, and then transformation will go much quicker. Just wanted to touch up on that. When we talk about infrastructure and telecom, what is the ITU? What's the ITU's view on IoT and 5G and where we're headed, and what are the kind of strategic thinking around that?
As you know, this is a very, very important subject. So now it's a global agenda, I believe. When you talk about this 5G, so we have certain gravity of this from the 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. This morning someone said 6G, 7G, 8G. We may continue. It's very challenging for us. Let me share this some of views from only standard point of view, because I have a responsibility of this technical standard development. How many standard organizations working in the ICT domains? more than 800 standard organizations. How many organizations engage with this IoT space? Almost all of them. Even you can imagine of the other industry domains, like vehicle industry, they have their own IoT agenda. They develop their own standard. So IoT is now application or infrastructure. Definitely, there are many views, but we do not deny of this IoT is only application, because IoT will make us connected life rather than more than connected things. So it will make us connected life. Very important to hit every moment of our life. Even IoT is the concept to identify where this data produced, who use of this data, who generate of this data. As normally a raise of concern, security and privacy is as well. So, but issue is, now we are talking about the smart and transformation. Without knowing of this status of the end users at any moment, being smart is impossible. Which means data is important, but data is no value unless this data is not shared. Data should be shared in some sense, but issue is how we can make clear boundaries. This is the important part. Let me back to some little bit more telcos infrastructures of 5G. 5G, we have to, we need a new investment because 5G is new technologies, new spectrums. It might be very difficult to transform from the 4G to 5G smooth migration. It's very challenging, almost renovation. But from the telco's point of view, why they invest of this? Their value is very small. So we have too many of subjects. Even 5G is not trying to support of automatic vehicle. It's wonderful, it's excellent. Everybody wish to get all this automatic driving vehicle. But as you recognize, this driving accident was happening 2 months ago. One of the robot accident was happening 1 month ago. We have to something address how we can protect. So infrastructure is not just the issue of these telcos. Because of this, as I said before, IT is a UN agency. UN system also has a verticalized. So we have to, all our effort to bring up this ICT infrastructure is not simple ICT domains, as a really social infrastructure. So how we can address of this infrastructure as a social resources? This is what we think. Even we are very keen to look at all this social infrastructure has a huge impact of this transformation of the society. Definitely including of this government, especially governance issue. As the last point, I want to have share one of the examples. Very recently, Hyundai Motors, they become our member, sector member of ITO. Our standard, technical standard, ICT standard development, Hyundai Motors, they join as our sector member. But Hyundai Motors belong to different ministry. This ITO is belong to ICT ministry in Korea. Hyundai Motors belong to vehicle ministry. How this process? It takes a long time. So this is one of the example. We need orchestration. I don't want to say I have no right to force merge of these different ministries. This is another issue, but definitely governance aspect, we need orchestration.
Well, you're reflecting actually something that's happening in the industry, which is, motor vehicle companies becoming service providers, and
sure.
then service providers going into the retail domain and so on and so forth. So the conversions across all the industries enabled through technology. You rightly said ICT is now in the fabric of social life. Anything is touched by ICT, and we're seeing actually lots of things happening in terms of conversions and integration and so on, and it's going to be interesting to see now moving forward. Mohammed, just and if you don't mind actually preparing questions, We have a few minutes left, and please be ready with your questions to the panel. Mohammed, you wear the hat also of Deputy Smart Government for the UAE. And I'd like you to just tell us a little bit about the key milestones in terms of the UAE at the federal level, the transformation that you're undertaking.
Sure. Just to let the audience understand that the Telecommunication Regulatory Authority has two major mandates. One of them, which is the obvious, as a telecom regulator, to regulate the telecom market and ensure the fair competition within the ecosystem. At the same time, we have another mandate, which is very important, which is executing the Smart Government Initiative and the programs. When it comes to the Smart Government Initiative program, we are talking about these programs which will be actually benefiting the citizens and the residents of the United Arab Emirates on the federal level. We have been mandated to be the technical arm who will be overseeing the smart government implementation since 2013. So His Highness Sheikh Mohammed, as you are aware, that he mandated to execute the smart government in May 2013, and he gave 2 years strict timeline for this transformation to happen. So after 2 years, what we've achieved, definitely we achieved many government organizations, they've moved from E to M. And then I would say M, not smart. Yeah. What do we mean by M is that so many government agencies, they have actually started providing their services into the mobile, in addition to what is being provided over the web. Now, shall we call this one a smart? No, because for one reason. We're talking about just one vertical. So they have done a lot of improvement within that vertical. But when you look at the customer point of view, customer is looking for one-stop shop. When the customer is trying to apply for a new business license, he or she has to go and visit different government agencies. Or let's say electronically, he has to visit different government websites or different government mobile apps. What the customer is looking for a single application or single framework that he apply for the job, and all the necessary approvals, inspection get facilitated through this harmony. Hence, this smart government program is there. We have done, we established a smart government strategy, which is aimed at providing a government service tailored to the customer, from customer point of view, not from the organization point of view. So this program has been started in 2015 and it's going to last till 2018. It has around 22 different initiatives and 54 different projects. Alhamdulillah, now we are talking about building, we have done building the basic building blocks of this foundation, including, as His Excellency mentions, something like the data centers for the federal government, the cloud computing facilities for the federal government, the digital identity, which is very important. So once the citizen accesses the government service, he has to be properly identify all the basic data about the citizen has to be provided through the single source of truth, rather than asking the customers to apply for these data. So we are talking about authentic data, verified data by the source of truth. We are talking about the government service bus, which is in place now, and we have around 20 different government agencies. They are exchanging data, and there is a huge traffic going through them. We have a couple of promising test beds, which it is in line with what we are talking about. Something related to the citizenship, something related to the business, something related to the social benefits. So let's say, for example, just as a matter of example, if let's say, for example, a citizen who's actually entitled or eligible for a social benefit, he used to go and get certain data by himself as a messenger from the other agency. Now it's not there anymore, because those two entities, they are well integrated together, and that entities are providing the social benefit can retrieve whatever data from Ministry of Health, from Ministry of other ministries about the social benefit or social status of the person applying for the benefit. So I believe that we started seeing the results of deploying these building blocks. Yes, it took around 1.5 years to build all of these foundations, but now it's the time to utilize and leverage those building blocks to provide great service to our citizens.
Interesting, interesting. So we're starting to see the city and the government actually, transforming their thinking and not saying, this is me government, this is my service, this is what you need. It's transforming it into saying, you as a citizen, resident, businessman, whatever, these are your needs, and this is how you will now interact with government.
Absolutely.
So it's quite an interesting transformation. I think very similar in essence in building the foundation from an infrastructure standpoint, and then data, and then unlocking the actual transformation process. So thank you. Before we open, I'd just like to see if we have any questions from the audience. One question to you, Brian. Public-private partnerships, one of the challenges that PPPs actually have is to measure the success or failure of these kinds of PPPs, whether they are in your domain or any domain of PPP. So I understand from you that you've actually put some interesting measurement into the PPP that you have. Maybe you can share some of that with us.
Sure. So I guess we see a huge number of accelerators expanding from all over the world. But when I look, most of them are measuring their results just on activity, this many introductions, this many companies, et cetera, and not on the actual impact or outcomes. So what we did 5 years ago now is sort of put in a baseline of attributed value. So going to the actual companies that got services with, and again, there's a fair bit of math behind all this, but getting from them their actual reaction of how much faster they got to market, how many more customers and deals they closed as a function of interacting with Wavefront. So now that we've sort of put those structures in, we have the measurement. Over the last 5 years, we've driven 6,000 jobs and $400 million in GDP.
Wow, interesting. So you actually were able to get down to the actual numbers and so on. Can you share with us the science of doing that? How did you go about maybe?
Yeah, afterwards we've got it's fairly proprietary to the program that we've written, but certainly happy to share some of that, and we have an infographic giving the high-level details on it all.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions from the audience? We have a few minutes left. Tony? Well, you're not allowed to ask questions.
Just one question.
Okay, one question.
My question to Dr. Zarooni. As federal authority, okay, how you can apply a unique platform for all UAE states? We have 7 states in UAE. Someone maybe in the smart government service, the citizen or resident that are used for more sophisticated service from the local, especially, for example, Dubai and Abu Dhabi. How, as federal authority, you can make your authorities like unique all over platform in same standard?
Thank you, Tony. I think this is a very great question to ask. Yes, the UAE has the political system. The UAE has a federal government and has a local government, and I believe all of us knows that the federal government has the smart government program, and some local government are advanced in smart government program like Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and the rest of Emirates. What we believe in that we complement all of these programs by providing whatever integration requires to complete the next mile that each local government wants. We established the federal government network, which connect all federal governments together. But at the same time, this asset is connecting to other local governments in a very secure way. So let's say, for example, federal government entity that requires a certain integration with a local government entity, we can facilitate this one. And we do have the process and the technology in place that does this one. And we have some implementation where a local government entity is fetching the data from a federal or vice versa. So this is where we come as an enabler rather than just limiting ourselves to only federal service, because as you rightly mentioned that most of the services here are a mix of local and federal. Let's say, for example, if you want to apply for a business license, you apply it in the city, you don't apply it on the federal government. But at certain stage, you still need to bring laborers, for example, or staff. Then you have to go to the Ministry of Labor. or Ministry of the new name, which is Ministry of Human Resources and Amortization. So this integration is there. We're always aligned, and we're always making sure that whatever we do is serving the citizen at all, even with the identity, because the citizen is identified as a citizen regardless, based on his Emirates ID, regardless whether he's consuming or she's consuming the service from city or from the federal entities, he's still the same guy. So we are working together collaboratively with all government agencies to unify the way how citizens are identified on this platform or on the cloud, through services, through internet, through this one. So all of these things are aligned, alhamdulillah, and this is the only thing, and this is the only way where we can see we can progress further and to avoid any kind of silos. Let the cities innovate, but at the same time, we are here to help them to innovate further.
Interesting, interesting. We have time for one more question from the audience. A question right here.
Good morning. My name is Mohammed Bin Amar, and I am the SG of Arab ICT organization. My question goes to both His Excellency Minister Yasser El Kady and His Excellency Mr. Chaesub Lee, Director of the ASB and ITU. Now the situation is that we have Dubai Smart City and the others Arab cities. And my question is, how can we, through the cooperation between the ITU, the Arab ICT ministries, and maybe the organization of ICT, how to make the other Arab cities take profit from this experience? Thank you.
Okay, so well, thank you very much. So from Egypt side, so we are working very closely with the ITU. So the NTRA, or the National Telecommunication Regulatory Authority, is working very closely with the ITU. I'm chairing the National Telecommunication Regulatory Authority myself, and we are working very closely, building and even sharing our vision, our mission, our execution plans when it comes to the standardization, and when it comes to definitely the smart cities and building the smart cities. So this is very important. On the other side, we are here in Dubai. We are having multiple meetings and a lot of discussions with our colleagues in the regulatory here in UAE, and definitely with the Smart Dubai. And we are going to encourage more of discussions to make sure that they are sharing their expertise, the platform, the services, and we don't want to reinvent the wheel. So we are leveraging from what they are doing, and we are very happy to leverage this. Again, each country is having its own its own vision about the smart and how to be smart. Each country is having its own demography and how they are providing the services to the customers. But at the end of the day, the platform, the services should be the same. Yeah.
With the ITU, actually, this is kind of the suggestion, maybe organize or help in this process of sharing knowledge.
Yeah, thank you for this question. On ITU, we are the ICT responsible, but we started this smart city project more than 4 years ago. Yep. And we have certain recommendations, and we developed the so-called key performance indicators, how we can measure of these smart cities. One thing, before I share of this all the details, I want to share my view is smarter city is very complicated matters. I don't believe smarter city need unique standard in the world, because city has a very strong dependency of your geographical location, your cultural background, your national background. Anything is different.
Sure.
Even Smart Dubai said over this, happiest is the most important part. Maybe some other city, in us of infrastructure is the most important part. The goal is different. So this is a very complicated matters.
Sure.
But So what we try to do ITO is after we develop these KPIs, all the requirements, we try to apply of the candidate cities how our developed KPI is meet the requirements, how these KPIs help to design of these smart cities. I want to confirm again, Dubai is the first city. I heard that this morning they not allow second, but I want to confirm again this is Dubai is the first city to apply our KPIs, how to meet of these smart Dubai requirements. This project was finished at the end of this year. The report is now available. This is one of the examples. We try to have still more than 10 cities waiting. Singapore is the second city. Other cities following of this. We try to apply of these KPIs and develop as a platforms to share the smart cities experiences. Mm-hmm. This is we believe this is a good contribution from the ITU to any cities want to be designed as a smart. You can utilize the information from ITU to design of your cities. Sure. This is one way to facilitate of the smart city design and the developments from ITU.
Interesting. You rightly said the cities have different challenges and they want different outcomes, but in the middle, they can share a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience because it's very similar in the middle. Whatever comes in and whatever comes out is different, but in the middle, I think there's a lot of room for the smart city framework the ITU is doing, and also maybe through the ICT ministers' collaboration on sharing knowledge around smart cities. So I'd like to now finish with the panel. I'd just like to thank our distinguished panelists for the time, and I'd like to thank you also for your valuable contribution. Thank you.
Okay,